two best friends, almost twins in life, murdered side by side in the same bed. One of them so brutally that her own face was left unrecognizable. Coincidence? Or were Kaylee and Maddie ritually sacrificed? This is Stina Raven, and today on Mystic Crimes, we're examining one of the most disturbing possibilities in the Idaho 4 case, the twin sacrifice theory. Were these two young women victims of random violence, or chosen in a ritual pattern older than history itself? On November 13th, 2022, 4 University of Idaho students, Kaylee Goncalves, Madison Mogan, Xana Kernodle, and Ethan Chapin, were found murdered inside their home at 1122 King Road. 2 other roommates survived unharmed. Brian Koberger was arrested, later pled guilty, and received life sentences. Even so, questions persist in the public conversation about motive, the stated timeline, whether he acted alone, and for some, whether the right person is in prison. This episode focuses on the ritual and symbolic patterns, not the courtroom outcome. What makes this case so haunting isn't only the brutality. It is the strange symbolic patterns woven through it. In life, Kaylee and Maddie were inseparable, often mistaken for sisters, sometimes described as twinlike. In death, they were found together in the same bed on the 3rd floor. And if you're thinking it's a hell of a coincidence that they were in the same bed when the killer or killers struck, consider this. In recently released law enforcement documents, investigators noted that Kaylee's own bedclothes were disturbed, and they couldn't rule out that she'd been in her own bed at some point that night, which raises the unsettling possibility that Kaylee was moved into Maddie's room before the murders. Before we go deeper into symbols, let's talk about real twins. Many twins describe an uncanny closeness, finishing each other's sentences, sensing distress, even feeling a pull during crises. Psychologists point to shared genetics, shared environments, and a kind of hyper-attunement to each other's cues. And you don't have to be literal twins to feel that bond. Super close friends can align so tightly that it feels like telepathy, finishing sentences, sensing distress, moving in sync. Psychologists call it attunement, but the result is the same. 2 lives running in parallel so closely they can feel like one. When I say twin symbology, I don't always mean literal twins. I mean patterns we all recognize. Gemini in the zodiac, symbolized by the twins, stands for duality, 2 sides of the whole.
Interestingly, Kaylee and Maddie were both Geminis by birth, which may not be a coincidence, but I digress.
In the Bible's Cain and Abel, who were brothers, not twins, you see chosen versus cast out. In the parable of the prodigal son, 2 brothers, one celebrated, one resentful. These aren't our case in Idaho, but they show how often the twin pattern appears. Paired identities, parallel paths, and one figure set apart. When I say ritual here, I mean deliberate, symbolic actions arranged in a pattern. Choices about who, where, timing, and method. We all have rituals, whether we realize it or not. For instance, many of us have the ritual of brushing our teeth first thing in the morning. It's a habit. We call it a habit, but it really is a ritual. But there are some rituals that are far from innocent. And these rituals are pretty disturbing, very disturbing, I would say. Now let's get to Kaylee. According to Supplement 50 from the Moscow Police Department's investigatory records, Kaylee's injuries included severe facial trauma, describing her face as unrecognizable, along with blunt force trauma and multiple stab wounds. There's also reference to possible asphyxiation in the released materials. The literal removal of breath, the life force itself. So when you line this up, Kaylee wasn't just stabbed like the others. She was the only one with multiple injury types. She suffered multiple modes of attack: stabbing, blunt force trauma, and asphyxiation. She was set apart from Maddie, even as they died together. When it comes to ritual killings, law enforcement often shrug the idea off because they don't believe in ritual murders. But just because you or I don't believe doesn't mean others don't believe in and practice ritual sacrifices. And some take it very, very seriously. If we apply that lens here, Kaylee's unique, excessive injuries look less like coincidence and more like intention. She wasn't just another victim. She was the chosen twin. And of course, there could be other explanations for Kaylee's injuries. She could have struggled more, which could have pissed off the killer, and he viciously attacked her, struck out and attacked her harder. Or he could have just been a rando, a stalker that was following her, and she was his fixation. But we're just talking about ritual twin symbology here. And also, early media coverage emphasized Kaylee as the possible target. Then suddenly the story switched. Maddie was framed as the target. Possibly, I think it was because it was her bedroom. So I'm not sure why that switched, but it happened suddenly without real explanation that I can remember. And then silence. Police refused to confirm whether anyone was targeted at all. Let's pull the threads together here. Two women who were twin-like in life, found together in death. Kaylee set apart by overkill, blunt force, asphyxiation, and facial destruction. And a sudden media pivot away from Kaylee as target. Once you see the pattern, you cannot unsee it. At least I can't. Whether the killer acted consciously as part of a ritual, or the archetype emerged unconsciously, the result is the same. Kaylee and Maddie's deaths fit the pattern of a twin sacrifice. So, were Kaylee and Maddie ritually sacrificed? We may never have the answer, but the symbolic echoes, the injury differentiation, and the silence around targeting make it a question worth asking. In our next episode, we'll look at why two roommates were spared and how, in ritual patterns, the choice of who lives and who dies is rarely random. So what do you think? Random violence or something darker? Something arranged with ritual intent, perhaps? Share your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear them. And if you want to keep exploring hidden patterns behind true crimes, subscribe to Mystic's Toolbox, home of the Mystic Crimes series. See you next time.